Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fallout 76 for another trip to Mama Mumbles. We're going to burn through 1,000 Scrip on 3-star ranged weapons, mainly because I want to see if we can get Old Man McRib a better gun. The reality here is that as I go through the Steel Rain quests with him, I'm realizing just how underpowered he is, and how dangerous it is to get him up close and personal with that walking cane, and I'm pretty sure we're going to have a hard time when we get to the end of the quest, so rolling for something a little better might not be a bad thing. Not to mention the fact that, you know, Mama Mumbles isn't getting as many visitors anymore for all of her weapons since Legendary Crafting came out, so Old Man McRib decided he better come down here and give her a little attention. So we'll see if she's got anything good for us today. Remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, do go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always a lot more to come on the channel. Without further ado, let's see what she's got for us today. And our first roll of the day is an Exterminator's Pipe Revolver with exploding bullets and 25% less VATS AP cost. So, initially, we're probably looking at this and thinking, well, that's not very good. Nobody likes the Exterminator's effect. And I would agree. I don't particularly like the Exterminator's effect either. However, the Pipe Revolver does a pretty decent amount of damage, and it has the benefit of being able to be suppressed. You can put a suppressor on it so you can sneak with it. That's very beneficial for Old Man McRib. A little extra damage from explosions, not a bad thing. Less VATS AP cost, not a bad thing. So for most players, this is a piece of junk that's going to go right back in the Scrip machine. But for Old Man McRib, he might get a little bit of mileage out of something like this, despite the primary effect not being very good. Let's try again, see if she's got anything else good for us. Now we've got a Troubleshooter's Fat Man with limb damage and faster movement speed while aiming. I don't love this, and the main reason I don't love it is because it's not 90% reduced weight. If this weapon was 90% reduced weight, then hey, maybe I carry a couple of mini nukes around, maybe I can do some big chunks of damage here and there, but because it's light, I can handle carrying it. But at 20 pounds, plus the weight of the mini nukes, it just doesn't justify it, especially considering that I'm not getting anything super useful as far as the effects go. Troubleshooter's effect, not bad. Damage to robots isn't a bad thing, but for these quests, not really going to have to worry about that too much. Limb damage doesn't hurt, but meh. Faster movement speed while aiming. Most players will not benefit from that if they have the Speed Demon mutation, which is one of the most popular mutations in the game. So you're not going to get a whole lot of mileage out of that. Old Man McRib actually would, because he doesn't have the Speed Demon mutation. So he would get something out of that. Unfortunately, the rest of the weapon really just turns it into a burden. So unfortunately, this one's a dud. Let's keep going. All right, and now we've got an instigating cryolator with the last round in the magazine with a 25% chance to deal double damage and breaks 50% slower. This one, I'm going to go right ahead and just call it Scrip. Cryolators can be useful. Unfortunately, the instigating effect is kind of lost on this. You're not using this weapon because of the damage it deals. You're using it to freeze and slow down enemies, so instigating doesn't do a whole lot for you. Last round in a magazine doing more damage, also not doing a whole lot for you. It's not like this thing reloads every 5 shots. You're not going to get a lot of chances at that, and again, the extra damage is fairly pointless. Breaking slower is probably a bit beneficial for it, but you use it in so few situations that I don't think that's that valuable. So unfortunately, again, here we've got another weapon that it's 10 pounds, not 20, but it's still fairly heavy and its use cases are limited. So I just don't see this one being very useful for me, and in all likelihood, not for anybody else. Let's move along. And now we've got an Aristocrats grenade launcher with limb damage and less VATS AP cost. So this one could be kind of a fun weapon for a lot of players as just sort of a secondary, pull it out and use it every now and then kind of thing. If you're somebody who runs with a lot of caps all the time. For me, for Old Man McRib at least, that's not the case. I don't play Old Man McRib any more than just to do the quest lines for the most part, so he's never going to have 29,000 caps. It's just not going to happen. So he's going to get nothing out of that primary effect, while many players would. Extra limb damage on an explosive weapon is not a bad thing. This is an area of effect weapon, so if you can cripple some limbs on a pack of enemies and slow them down, that can be useful. Less VATS AP cost could potentially be good here. This is something that I would think would be more of a hip-fire kind of weapon, but it can also be a bit difficult to aim these, so using VATS with it isn't completely absurd. So I could see it being a good weapon for somebody. Unfortunately, not going to be a good one for me today. All right, Mama Mumbles, what do you got? Now we've got a bloodied flamer with extra damage while aiming and 90% reduced weight. Now this one is kind of interesting. Make no mistake, Old Man McRib, not a heavy weapons build by any stretch of the imagination, but the flamer can be useful in close quarters. With some mod upgrades, it can do decent damage even without a lot of extra perks. At 90% reduced weight, it does make it easier to carry around as well. Now, Old Man McRib is also not a bloodied build, but it doesn't change the fact that sometimes he gets himself into trouble and takes some damage, so getting a little more oomph out of your weapon when you're low on health could be very useful. Extra damage while aiming down sights, again, pretty useful. So we'll get a little more mileage out of those legendary effects because we're not stacking it with other things. So honestly, this one could be good for him. It could be fun to pull out every now and again. For most players, definitely a good choice if you're a heavy weapon build. This one's pretty solid here. Bloodied is always good. You always get better damage with it. Damage while aiming on a weapon like this is kind of perfect. Reduced weight, also very good. I don't think there's a lot of third stars that are going to give you a whole lot of juice on a weapon like this, so reducing its weight is probably about as helpful as it can get. This is a good roll. Let's see what else we can get. All right, what's next? Looks like we've got a few left here. So anti-armor flamer. Last round in the magazine, dealing a % chance to deal double damage and extra perception. So this one, not nearly as excited about as the last one. The anti-armor effect is good, especially for Old Man McRib because he's a full health build, so he's not going to get that much use out of bloodied, but that last round in the magazine effect on a flamer, where you've got hundreds of rounds in the magazine, if I remember correctly, yeah. That sucks. There's no way that's going to be useful. Extra perception, again, not really a VATS kind of weapon, so not really going to get any mileage out of that in Fallout 76. So sadly, the second and third stars are basically worthless. The anti-armor effect is good, but comparing it to the one we got a few seconds ago, it definitely doesn't hold up. And at 15.5 pounds, roughly, it's, I would say, destined for the Scrip bin. So same benefits as any other flamer. It's not a bad weapon, but not going to hold up compared to the other one. Let's keep rolling. All right, next up, we've got an instigating auto grenade launcher with VATS hit chance, and it breaks 50% slower. So this one's kind of intriguing. The instigating effect was nerfed a while back, so it's not nearly as good as it used to be, but on weapons that have decent base damage, you're doubling a pretty decent amount of base damage, so that's not a bad thing. Unfortunately, being an explosive weapon, if you're hitting enemies in groups, I'm not sure how much of an effect that has when it's splash damage, if it just affects one target, or if it affects multiple targets. And then after that, of course, your targets are not full health, so you don't have the benefit of it. So not sure how good that is, but it could be good. I just haven't really played around with the grenade launchers to see. So maybe that's one worth testing at some point in the future. We'll see. Extra VATS hit chance doesn't hurt. Again, I don't really see this as much of a VATS weapon, especially because you'll likely be running it with a heavy gunner type build where you don't have a ton of agility built in. So don't see you getting a ton of mileage out of VATS with this, but if you do use it with VATS, that'll be helpful. And breaking 50% slower, that doesn't hurt either. Let's keep going. We've got an aristocrats hunting rifle with explosive bullets and 90% reduced weight. So this one's pretty good. It's not going to be good for Old Man McRib, but it'll be good for a lot of players. Again, most players, I shouldn't say most players, but many players at higher levels in the game carry around a ton of caps. So maxing out damage here, you got to get to 29,000 caps. It's not a super hard thing to do if you're playing characters that you play a lot. So not going to work for Old Man McRib because he comes out when new quests come out and then he goes back in the drawer for a little while. But for a lot of players, that'll be good. Explosive gives you extra area damage. Pair that with Demolition Expert to boost that up. That's nice. 90% reduced weight. By the time you get some mods on this thing, you're not going to see a whole lot out of that, but it does reduce the overall weight. So this isn't a bad one as kind of a backup sniper rifle type of weapon for any number of characters. This is not a bad roll at all. Not going to be super useful for Old Man McRib, but definitely not a bad way to go. Okay, we've got 2 more to go. What do we have next? Ooh, now this one's kind of interesting. This one has 2 really good effects and 1 piece of garbage effect. So we've got bloodied, which is going to give us the most damage, which is perfect on a weapon like this. You can suppress it, you can sneak with it, which means you can be a stealth sniper with this kind of weapon and do a ton of damage, and it'll do just fine. 25% faster fire rate isn't going to work. It's not going to do anything for you here, so there's no point in having that. It's a very sad day that we see that rolling on a good weapon like this. But yeah, maybe I shouldn't say definitely it doesn't work. We tested several weeks back in a Scrip video. We tested the faster fire rate effect on a Gauss pistol and found very clearly it made 0 difference. So I'm pretty sure that it's going to work the same way on a Gauss rifle. Could be wrong, but I highly doubt that it works on one and not on the other. Our third effect, though, that's critical meter filling 15% faster. There again, not a bad effect. Chances are, if you're a stealth sniper, you're probably going to use VATS. So you can get headshots and all that good stuff. Filling that critical meter faster, definitely helpful. So bloodied and VATS critical meter filling faster make this a good weapon. 25% faster fire rate does absolutely nothing for it. I guess it doesn't actively hurt it, and maybe some point in the future they'll make it better, but for now, as far as I can tell, it's doing nothing for the weapon. Still a pretty good roll, but that definitely makes it a little less exciting. And here we are for our last roll of the day. We've got a troubleshooter's Gatling laser with the last round in the magazine having a chance to do double damage and breaking 50% slower. So, the troubleshooter's effect on a Gatling laser, honestly, not a bad effect to have. It can make it very useful if you're a heavy gunner. You want to maybe run a nuke silo or do encrypted or something like that, and you don't necessarily have to be the person that does the most damage at the event. Then you can do pretty well with it and be very ammo efficient with the right perks because you're already a heavy gunner in power armor using fusion cores, so you probably have a pretty healthy supply of them. Last round in the magazine doing double damage. If you're running the right perks with this weapon, you're doing 1,000 rounds out of a fusion core before you have to reload. So if you have a 1 in 4 chance that your 1,000th round deals double damage on a weapon like this where the base damage is 29, if you value that, then more power to you. But not a single human being is going to value that. That is a complete wasted effect. Breaking 50% slower, well, that's definitely not bad. I don't mind that effect. I don't like farming for things. I don't like repairing my stuff all the time. So anything that reduces that weapon degradation makes me happy. I'm just a bit sad that that second star sucks really, really hard. Would be nice if we had faster fire rate or something like that on there to make it a little bit more useful, but sadly we don't. So for me, definitely going back in the Scrip bin. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to bring us to the end of this run. Not a bad visit to Mama Mumbles. She gave us a couple of interesting things, including one that might be useful for Old Man McRib. Not one of the best visits either, but not totally bad. So sadly, we're going to leave her alone again and not come see her for a few weeks. But yeah, so that's how it goes at Mama Mumbles. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Today, somewhere in between. Remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always more to come. We're going through the new Old Man McRib series now, and we're doing the Old Man McRib New Vegas live stream series. So there's a lot more to catch if you're a fan of that little character. So yeah. Anyway, with all that said, I hope I see you all next time. And until then, I'm Fisty McRib.